mummy. It's a mamette, actually, a lady mummy. And you can see the sarcophagus. The sarcophagi were always decorated, mostly because it was about that with scenes from the Book of the Dead, showing how the dead person was led to the underworld and measured whether he was good enough. So let's see that story. And on the side of the sarcophagus, you see the dead person in white, led by, who is this guy? Who is that god? God of embalming with a jackal's head.
Oh, Anubis.
Anubis. Okay. So Anubis is leading the dead person, and that's, you see, this is the crucial point. You see the scale. His heart is measured against the feather of a feather mat, and you see the ibis. That's the god Thoth, the god of scribes and writing, and he is overseeing this whole procedure. And there is that evil demon Amut standing there waiting that if this dead person was not good enough, he can take him away.
Where's the evil demon at?
He's right here by Osiris. And
okay. Is this little dog?
Try not to
the
touch
dog?
the glass.
Is the dog down there? Oh, the alligator thing.
And finally,
Okay.
he gets in front of Osiris, and everything is fine. Osiris is the king of the gods. He was the first mummy, as you know, because his evil brother killed him and chopped him up into ever so many pieces. But his son, the falcon-headed Horus, put him together and wrapped him because he was all in pieces, and that's how became the first mummy, and that's where you can see. I am really looking around. So here is little double crown, upper and lower issues on his head, and you see that he's all sighted. One around, so only his two hands are shown, and perhaps at one time he was holding a flail, one of his attributes as a king. There are several coffins, and last year here is a beautiful one. Here is an eyewitness, actually used to be carried around in processions. It was attached to a long pole and was carried around in processions. Now, these two covers of mummy sarcophagi are from the time when there was austerity in Egypt. They didn't decorate the chambers where the sarcophagus was put in so lavishly, so they began to decorate the covers of these sarcophagi. Here you can see a couple, and in the bottom of that empty sarcophagus that we looked at, you can see another goddess. This is not the goddess of the sky, standing on a golden necklace. You see that beautiful piece here. And here are all the uriae, the snakes, and the lettering, the glyphs on her both sides describe that this is indeed not. You know how Egyptians like to portray persons. It was a very special way. There is a good example, probably here. This is better. Face in profile, chest, facing us and legs again in profile. They believe that showing a person's profile would describe the person better than looking, as we say, no. Whoever couldn't afford, or the family couldn't afford, the mommy's burial, was just buried in regular tomb, and they had tombstones, stelas, over them. Here's a stela of a priest of the goddess Hathor, you know, the cow-headed goddess. He was buried together with his wife, and you can see that the wife actually is embracing his shoulder. You see those two little guys, one there and the other here. What do you think who they are?
They're servants?
Servants, exactly. And you will see several other examples that size difference will determine rank among people. And you will see it not only in non-Western art, but when we get to early medieval, even early Renaissance art, you will see the same thing. I can show you examples for that. They are standing in front of an altar where there are sacrificial things. There is actually a calf's head that I still haven't really found, but I know that there is one. The other interesting thing is about this, what do you call this kind of a sculpture that is just jutting out from a
Remember we
surface?
talked about that, it's on the wall. It begins with an R. A fresco is
Relief?
painting. Relief, exactly.
Okay, let me give you a good way to remember it. There came the sculptor and started hacking away with hammer and chisel. And suddenly he realized that he didn't have to do the back. And he said, what a relief. This is relief sculpture as against sculpturing the round that you can walk around it and observe. Reliefs, as I said, usually are jutting out of the flat background. The Egyptians did the negative of it. The image is actually carved into it. So it's more in depth than the surrounding, just the opposite that you are familiar with in Western art. Now I don't know whether you covered Assyrian art.
No, we talked a little bit about Mesopotamian art, not a whole lot, but it would be wonderful to see it.
Hello.
Oh, you made it. Okay.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Jenna and Connor.
Oh, Jenna and Connor, and also there's another group also just called me that's coming. So if we stay in this gallery for just a few more minutes.
We are going to take them on the adjacent in the adjacent gallery.
Okay.
Staying in Asian.
Okay. Just take a look at the mummy.
Yeah. Okay. The mummy is obviously there inside. I know it's a partial mummy, so you can see pieces of paper.
It's the wonderful guy was showing you. Look at
It
the dead.
is the story of the dead. How the dead person is led by Anubis. His heart is measured against justice, against Mars, the presence of goodness, and then he passes the rest and he goes out so then he is on in ancient,
That's so neat. Oh my God, so awesome.
there are so many that I don't think there is any I don't think there is any wall panels from the panel. This is the painting. They also like profiles, but I mean the whole and we find in the future we believe that there is a genie, a benign spirit that would add to our The genie is holding that bucket, and you can see it everywhere. In the bucket there is some holy water that would fertilize the crop, and that was a very important thing. So
Egyptian exhibit.
that was the way he had the king. You can also see he's wearing a shorter thing. You can see it there as well. Very muscular legs. All those sinews and muscles are shown very well.
Vitsa,
Yes.
can I ask a question? Assyrian, so what country would this be today? Do we know where this would have been today?
Syria. That's
Syria.
Syria.
In Syria, okay.
Mostly Syria.
Uh-huh.
You see writing. We've just seen one kind of writing with pictures, hieroglyphics, in Egypt. This is a so-called cuneiform writing. Just imagine how hard it was to inscribe each and every piece of panel. The text is the same on each panel, and it praises the king. It's the ancient way of brainwashing. By the time you reached the palace, you were completely convinced that this was the greatest and the most victorious ruler ever. Especially if anyone could read it, because these are times when very few people could read. And this is why we see even here, because you recognize Horus for the falcon's head and so forth. And you will see it even in early European art, and all the other non-Western arts as well, that art was made for the masses who didn't read. So they had to recognize the figures somehow. By oral history, they knew the stories from the Bible or from their sacred books, but they had to recognize the figures. That's why each figure has attributes by which you can always recognize them, and we shall talk about them a lot.
Okay,
later.
Vitsa, there's a few people who just arrived. This is the end of it. This is everybody I'm expecting.
We are all together?
Yeah, now we're
Okay.
all together. But I just want to tell them if they want to take a quick look because they missed the Egyptian.
Come with me.
Oh, she's going to show us again.